All right?
Yep.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we start, how many other people in opposition? I see this lady. Anyone else? Oh,
I don't see any others.
Okay, so two. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Would you state your name and tell us why you're here?
My name is Christine McCardle. My background is public health. I'm a doctorate in that. But the last 5 years,
Excuse me, Dr. where?
a doctorate at Glasgow University
In Scotland?
in Scotland, yes. But since retirement, I've focused my energies on criminal justice reform, volunteering at Concord Prison, joining various organizations concerned with that, shepherding the bill, the reform bill through that passed last year, and attending parole hearings. My first parole hearing, I was very shocked seeing how the members of the board were checking their email or looking at their pads, talking to each other, whispering, not actually listening often. And I know how important it is to the people attending a parole hearing. Of course, I only go to lifers hearings. I just think that the composition of the board is so important. That's, as people have said before, addiction is a major, major problem. Mental health issues are a major problem. That I would just like to use this opportunity to have someone with that background on the board. You may be a wonderful, everyone speaks highly of you, but I just think it would be a shame not to use this opportunity to balance the board.
So I'm sure we're going to ask this nominee about her background in those areas. And I'm going to ask her myself whether she's going to be on her cell phone and whispering during hearings. I don't think that should be done.
No.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you very much
Thanks.
for waiting and speaking. Okay, is anybody else here in opposition? Hearing none, we will finally give the floor to the nominee. Tell us why we should vote for you.
Good afternoon. I had written good morning, but
I don't want you going over an hour on your presentation.
I promise 2 to 3 minutes at most. I'm truly honored to be here before you all today. Thank you, Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito, for nominating me for a position on the Massachusetts Parole Board and for having faith and confidence in me to successfully take on this responsibility. Thank you, counselors, for devoting your time to me today, all day, and the days leading up to today as you consider my nomination for this important position. I am here today with my husband, Greg, as you saw earlier. Greg and I met when we began law school together in 1997. Greg is a member of the Boston Police Department for over 22 years. We've been married for 15 years, and we are the proud parents of 2 amazing children, Allison, who's 13, and Patrick, who's 10. We live in Canton, Mass, and Allie and Patrick attend Canton Public Schools. We are active in our church and our community. I know you have my resume before you. A couple of quick things that are not on my resume. I grew up in Danvers, Massachusetts with my family. I was second out of 5 children. My father was a union worker. He worked for the Boston and Maine Railroad, later became Guilford Rail, and he was a records clerk and had various positions there for over 30 years. Retired from that position. My mom was a homemaker and she spent every moment caring for her kids. She still does today. We were not a family with means, but we were rich in many, many ways. Myself and my siblings were always encouraged to pursue education. They wanted more for us than they had. When life got challenging in our home, they showed nothing but strength, determination, and loyalty. I learned from the best. After graduating from Danvers High School and then UMass Amherst, I worked as a paralegal for several years and then continued on my path to law school. Shortly after I started in the evening program at New England School of Law, I knew I was where I was supposed to be. And like like I mentioned, I did meet my husband there, which was a nice bonus. In my last semester at New England, in my last semester,
Buy his rewards.
at New England, I obtained an internship with the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, and that set my legal career in motion. That one internship led to 13 and a half years as prosecutor. I am incredibly proud of my time that I spent as a prosecutor, and I attribute a great deal of the skills that I've learned as an attorney and as a professional to that experience. It was during those years that I learned what it means to exercise sound judgment, to be fair, and to make difficult decisions, even when those decisions are unpopular. I learned when to stand my ground and when I needed to soften. Most importantly, I gained a deeper understanding of the impact of the criminal justice system and the impact that it has on victims, on defendants, and their loved ones. When I joined the parole board as general counsel, I knew my years as a prosecutor had served me well. I was able to bring sound judgment, solid work ethic, and vast legal skills. When I am advising the board, creating and implementing new policies, or assisting in any managerial decisions, I approach every task with the ability to listen and to reason. Working in my capacity as general counsel and more recently executive director, it has taught me a tremendous amount about the agency's commitment to rehabilitation, as well as its contribution to public safety. I truly believe in the mission of the Massachusetts Parole Board, and I ask that you confirm my nomination.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You heard the folks who spoke today. They really did not have any objection to you and to your nomination of the parole board. It was more the fact that we need more people in the social science background. Your thoughts?
I'll first speak to the statute, because certainly I do agree that the statute indicates that there needs to be and is one forensic psychologist. There must be, and there is, and that is a requirement of the statute. I also agree that the statute lays out an option for the governor to establish a panel, and that panel can collect candidates for an opening of the parole board. And in the event that the governor chose to do that, the statute indicates that there are various backgrounds by which these folks should come from: law enforcement, corrections, the field of sociology, psychology, etc. But I read it as those are not requirements. I read it as those are the bases from someone's background to be considered. So that's my view on and my interpretation of the statute as it stands. As far as the board and the makeup right now, I think that the board is made up of folks of various backgrounds, and I know that certainly folks from a corrections background are kind of lumped in with law enforcement, but I separate them in this way. Folks that work or have a corrections background, those folks know all of the ins and outs of institutions, specifically the Department of Correction, when it comes to programs that are available, what programs are available in various institutions. I think that's incredibly helpful for the board. There is a defense attorney on the board. So although Mr. Coleman sometimes gets lumped in with law enforcement, Mr. Coleman has never been a prosecutor to my knowledge, and has done wonderful work as a defense attorney and has had tremendous impact on the board. Of course, Chairman Tressler was indeed a prosecutor. There is an individual who has worked her way up in parole and has only had parole-related positions to work her way up to the board. So again, another area, a completely different background that she contributes to the board. And of course, Dr. Bonner's forensic psychology background. I think as it stands right now, there is a vast amount of experience on that board, and I think that it creates some balance. I myself could add to that background, to that experience, because I not only have prosecutorial experience, but I have very specific prosecutorial experience where I dealt with very, very challenging cases. I handled some of the most serious cases in the Suffolk Superior Court. Very, very challenging, dark days for people, and I think, as Judge Broadbent mentioned, sometimes those days involve telling people in those very dark times that perhaps we couldn't go forward with their case. I think that brings a very unique background, and maybe one that I know it was mentioned that another former board member had certainly from my work, direct work, for many, many years with victims and their families, I imagine I would have a tremendous amount to contribute in that area when it comes to dealing with folks in their difficult times and difficult days. I'll also point out there are 2 board members that are currently sitting that are steps away from becoming licensed alcohol and drug counselors. I'm not sure if the counselors are aware of that, but I think that also will add to the depth and diversity of the board and bring nothing but more experience and more insight. So I think that I would be an excellent addition to the folks that are currently sitting on the board.
Thank you. Let me ask this question. Of the 7 members, we'll include Lucy as one of the 7. How many of those 7 do not have, they may have this background or this background, but of those 7, and you may not know this, I have a sense, do not have any. I mean, they may have this background or this background, but also they had a background as a prosecutor in addition. Or they also have a background as a parole, worked in the parole system or the correction system. What's your understanding of the 7 present members? What type of background do they have with respect to either being a parole officer, involved in the parole board, corrections department, or the prosecutor?
It's based on my knowledge and understanding, other than Attorney Coleman, who was a criminal defense attorney, and other than Dr. Charlene Bonner, who's a forensic psychologist, the other folks that are there would fall into that umbrella that you're speaking of, where they would have prosecutorial experience or corrections or parole.
Okay, so that's, but isn't that 6? Who is it then? In other words, Bonner, what's Bonner's background?
She's a forensic psychologist.
So wasn't she involved in, was she a
A court clinician? Is that what you're?
I don't remember, but I thought she was whether a prosecutor or involved in parole boards, no?
Dr. Bonnet, not to my knowledge, no. I know she worked as a court clinician and I believe still does.
Okay, that's fine. So 5 of the members have fallen to that background that I use the word law enforcement, correction,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
Hey, you have a nice resume, but what I'm saying is, do you think we have enough of those people? In other words, and I know you're here on behalf of yourself and you have to advocate for yourself, I get it. Do you think the board should have more people with social science backgrounds? And I know it's not mandatory, but there's a reason why the legislature mentions these folks. They didn't say we need people who play footballs, or people who are, paralegals, or people who are. There's a reason why they said that, because they thought there should be these types of people on the board. Do you think we have enough?
I think the legislature made or specified those particular areas to say if you were going to be on the parole board, you should have at least one of these backgrounds to be an applicant. That's what I think the intent was.
I respectfully disagree. So you would think that if all the members were assistant district attorneys, well, under your theory, that's what the legislature put down as one of the criteria. That's perfectly fine.
I think it's more of an applicant by applicant
I understand.
question.
Assume they're all super qualified.
If you're asking me the interpretation of the statute, what I think the intent was, I do think the intent was to ensure there's absolutely one forensic psycise on the
I
board
wanted
at
a
all
good
times.
balance.
And if there are vacancies and the governor chooses to establish this panel, these are the bare bones requirements for someone to apply for a position.
Yeah, I don't think the legislature's intent was to have all psychologists.
But that said, man,
Yeah.
in all areas, I think balance is important. So, despite the way I read the statute, I would never say balance isn't an important thing. Vast experience isn't an important thing. So I understand and respect what you're saying, because I think that balance and experience from all areas is important. So I'm not disregarding that or minimizing it in any way.
I get that, but I just think that if all the members of the parole board were psychiatrists, to me, we got enough. We don't need 7 psychiatrists. We don't need 7 defense attorneys. I don't like that. It's just my personal view. I'd like a more balanced, especially these days, with drug addiction, with mental health issues, huge problems. I'd like people with more experience in that field. This is my own personal. Doesn't mean you're not qualified for the job. And maybe the people that I would like on the program, maybe they don't even apply. I don't know that. But let me ask this: do you have any background with respect to addiction, drug addiction?
Other than, I believe that it's an epidemic that has touched my life and everybody's life in this room and in this Commonwealth, in this country, no. I myself, no. I think certainly various relationships in my family and my husband's family, we have all struggled with this. I wake up every day thinking about my 2 children that I am raising in the worst epidemic that we have ever seen. I read about it, I think about it, I am aware of it. I think that there are not enough beds and places for people to go while in recovery. There are not enough programs. There is not enough to fulfill the need. We are losing this battle right now. I am certainly aware.
And I appreciate that, but no actual educational background.
No.
And the same question, and I know you read about it, you're knowledgeable, same question with respect to mental illness. Do you think enough people, or too many, are getting paroled in the Department of Corrections?
I definitely don't think too many. I think that there's always work to be done. Consistently over the past at least 3 years, parole rates, and I say that lightly because I have a difficulty a little bit with the numbers because I think ultimately the decisions have to be made case by case and the numbers are a result of those decisions. But I will point out that the paroling rates for both the House and DOC facilities have gone up from 2015 every single year, not drastically, but up. We are certainly working in the right direction. We are headed in the right place. There is work to be done. Could the rates be higher so long as we have the appropriate staff to supervise the people that are coming out, so long as there are appropriate programs for these folks and places for them to go? Absolutely.
And you say we're moving in the right direction. My question is, are we? So I get the impression from you that you think, since I think you said 2015, more people are being paroled, or at least the percentage has increased, however slightly. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I take it from you, you think that's a good thing. Maybe they were too stringent pre-2000.
Maybe. I can't speak to
But
that
no, but you said
specifically.
it's a good thing. Why is
I
it
think it's a
thing?
good thing when you show an increase, sure. I mean, I think it's a good thing to show that more people are getting paroled, which means more people are getting help with reentry, which means hopefully that is assisting them so that they don't recidivate and that they are reentering and becoming effective, healthy members of society.
Yeah, I personally don't have enough knowledge if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing that people are paroled. They should stay in prison. I don't know necessarily
Sometimes,
if that's a good thing.
sometimes.
What about the fact from the professor, she talked about a lot of folks have a parole hearing, and it takes a long, long time, months before a decision is rendered. What's your sense on that, and what can you do? Well, what's your sense on that?
I was assuming she's talking about life sentence decisions, seeing that any other decision is given momentarily. So with life sentence decisions, because they need to be determined by the full board needs to deliberate. There are times when a board member may not be present, the board member has to watch the video of the hearing. There could be 30 to 60 days before the board even makes a determination there, the decisions are given to the general counsel's office, which is the office that I run, in order to assign and write the decisions. So as of right now, the decisions are approximately from date of hearing are being delivered about 8 months, 7 to 8 months after.
Like a long time. I mean, to me, you know, if a parole board member is out sick, I get it. He's on vacation, I get it. But how long does it take him to listen to the tape?
And that's not all the time. I'm not saying that's
I know, but
that's every
8
year.
months seems like a long time.
Agreed. And as recently as July, I hired an attorney specifically for that task. That attorney has been working on very little other than working on doing those records of decision, ensuring that they're getting done, ensuring that the time gap is lessening. It's definitely, we're I don't want to say moving the right direction again, but it is improving because of the fact that we have hired that attorney for that specific task.
And other than a lifer, when people come up for parole, I've never represented in parole hearings. Somebody coming up for parole, they go in front of one member or 3 members. How does that work?
One in the House of Correction, and then in state facilities, 2, sometimes 3.
So when it's 2, and the vote's 1 to 1,
Mhm.
I assume they don't get paroled?
If it's 1 to 1, then they have to have another hearing so that there can be a tiebreaker.
And when, so in the state prison system, they either have 2 or 3. Is that what you said?
Yes, 2 or 3 board members,
Yeah.
correct.
How do they make the decision? In other words, someone's on vacation, they can't find, like, why sometimes 2 and one times 3?
Well, there should be 3. If there's enough board members, there should be 3, so you don't run into that problem.
Okay,
Ideally, if everyone is working, no one's on vacation, there are no family emergencies, that's the ideal, and that is more typical.
Okay.
That
so,
3 votes.
so in House of Correction, it's 1.
Yes.
There's 7 members of the parole board. They all don't vote the same all the time. A lot of it's the luck of the draw. I mean, some parole board members like anything else, just like a judge. Some could be lenient, some could be really tough. How do you rectify the situation where defendant A goes in front of, parole board member today, defendant B goes tomorrow, this one's let out, this one's not let out. Assume, which is, I know it's not exactly right. For that matter, they both robbed the store together, or they both stole something from Macy's, they got the same record. It doesn't seem fair that one guy's out and one guy isn't, dependent, like, wow, we got a parole board member who's 42%, the other one's 65%. How do you rectify that? I don't think it's fair, but what can we do about it?
Well,
Life's not fair, I get it, I just want to know your sense.
Well, I think we've heard references to, the concept of having a crystal ball a couple of times today. And I think, every board member takes the information that they get and they have to apply the legal standard. How they come out is how they come out. I would certainly hope that every single board member thoroughly prepares a case, thoroughly addresses all of the issues within the case, and applies the legal standard to determine whether or not this individual can be released into the community and not reoffend. And certainly there is some room, these are human beings, there's going to be some room for human difference. That is human nature. But I would hope that every single board member tasked with this massive duty is going to apply the standard to the information that they have.
And when someone's up for parole, the victim's family or the victim can appear, or first of all, in the House of Correction, is that true or not true?
In the House of Correction, if a case is considered a victim access case, so if there is a death, so if there was a manslaughter, or if there was a sexual assault or a violent offense and the sentence was a year or more, that would be considered a victim access case, and the victim or a representative for the victim can have an opportunity to provide testimony.
And in what situations is the district attorney notified of a parole hearing? Just like this, or when is, or if at all?
The district attorney always has information of parole hearings. For lifer hearings, we send out a notice 30 days prior, just as we do for any victim or any individual that is registered in the victim notification registry. They're supposed to have 30 days notice.
So if there's a parole hearing for someone at the House of Correction, the DA gets notification of that?
They usually have the information, but they can't come.
Oh, they can't come?
No,
Can they
it's
write
not
a
open
letter?
to the public. Anybody can write a letter
Well,
to the
yeah,
parole
but
board.
this person across the street doesn't know about it. You're saying you notified the district attorney.
No, we don't, I'm sorry, we don't send out like a formal notification.
So the chances of him noticing that
Right.
next Tuesday, Joe Smith he's not going to.
They may call to inquire, sometimes they do that, but
Probably not.
no, it's just the life sentence hearings that there's a formal notification.
And I'm just curious. And about how many these how often do you have 10 hearings a year, 5 hearings generally
I wanna say slightly over 100,
a year?
in and around, between like 110, 120, around there.
Okay. And in those are the cases the district attorney does have notice.
Yes.
And let's say of those 100 or so in 2018, how often did you see a district attorney or his or her representative come in support of someone's parole?
I can go by, since I don't watch every single hearing, but for the decisions that I publish, when I know who appears and who doesn't, the majority of the hearings either has a representative from the DA's office or they'll submit something in writing.
When you say the majority, that could be 51. I know you don't know, and I don't expect you to have.
No, I would
these
say
things.
more than that.
I mean, I would think like 98%.
I can't say that, but I would say more often than not, the district attorney's office is there represented by someone, yeah.
And how often, and sometimes they may not respond at all.
Yeah, that's not common, but yes.
Okay, so they either can show up or write a letter in opposition. They can not respond at all and send no one, or they can go in support of.
Correct. Or they have written letters saying, we don't take a position,
We don't take a position.
we let the
Yeah, I got
parole
you.
board do what they do.
I know it's just a wild guess. Of the 100 cases, how many of those do you think the district attorney either wrote a letter in support of or showed up in support of? Just a wild guess, if any.
In support as opposed to not taking a
Yeah,
position.
exactly.
I can't guess.
Well, I would say none. I would think less than 3.
Less than 3, I'm
So
sorry.
out of 100 or so cases,
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised if there's at least 3 times out of 100 that the district attorney, whatever county, showed up and said, I'm supporting this person to be released on parole. Or writing a letter in support of but not showing up. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, where the district attorney, just flat out
The reason I
says,
say that,
I support parole.
I've been here a long time, and over the years, we haven't had it in a while, but we used to have a lot more commutations and pardons when Michael Dukakis was the governor. I was here then. And the district attorneys, anytime we had a commutation, every single, not 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, always came or wrote a letter in opposition. So what's my point? I am not advocating for lifers to be paroled. Let me stress that. But as a prosecutor, okay, it's going to be pretty hard for me to believe, which is, I know we're going to hear a nice little speech here, with all due respect. It's going to be hard for any prosecutor to ever grant anyone, and I'm not saying he or she should get parole, okay? It's pretty hard for a prosecutor, at least in my opinion. And I know it does happen. But I would think that's the minority, a prosecutor voting to release someone on parole. I'd be surprised how many times Josh Wall did it, or Trushler. I don't know. What's your sense of that? You think you can really do that?
Absolutely. I respect the mission of the board. I respect the standard that I would have to apply if I were confirmed for this position. My years as a prosecutor molded me and built me into the attorney that I am. I gained incredible skill, courtroom skill as well as people skills by performing my job as an assistant district attorney. I don't for 1 second think that if I were sitting on the parole board, I would have difficulty applying that standard, whether I was talking about somebody convicted of murder, whether I was talking about someone convicted of rape of a child, any other domestic violence, domestic abuse, all areas which I focused my practice on, and yet I would be tasked with ensuring that I knew my case and that I applied the standard, and I would do that in every case.
Why, I mean, to me, being a parole, member of the parole board, super difficult job. At least my sense of it, I could be totally wrong. You live in Canton?
I do.
And I could be wrong. You could be driving tomorrow to Worcester or in Springfield, and you know, my point being all over the state. That's a really, really demanding job. What's your sense as to how much traveling do you really do? Are you like in Boston for a month, or no way, here, there, and everywhere?
I mean, to me, that's part of the position. I knew that from the moment I started at Parole, that's what's involved in the work of a parole board member. There's no other way that they can do it.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, what's your expectation? Is your expectation to be in the western parts once a week, or, oh no, I live in Canton, Trustler will probably let me handle most of the cases in Boston. Like, I'm just curious, what is your expectation? I know you'll go anywhere, but like.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right.
My expectation is I'll go anywhere in
I
the
get
state
that, but
that
I'm
I'm
just
being
curious.
sent.
I get it. But I'm just curious, like, you think you'll be in Springfield 5 days a week? The answer is no, every day, every week. I'm just curious myself. This is just educate me. Like Boston, I would think, has the most business. So like maybe the Cape doesn't have. They may not even have a parole, well, the prison, Boston. Maybe they don't have as many inmates. I don't know. I'm just curious as to where do you think you'll be all the time?
I would expect that if I were to be confirmed and I began working as a parole board member, I would expect to have to visit every single institution before thinking about where I might spend some time. I'm assuming, since every other board member has done it, I would have to go to every institution in this Commonwealth over many, many months, because everybody should have to go to.
Yeah,
Every
next time you come
institution.
back, if you come back for some, I'm just curious. With all due respect, you didn't answer my question, but that's fine.
Okay.
Like, I was just curious, like, Charlene Bonnie, yeah, you know, if I talk to her, I said, yeah, you know what, twice a month I'm in Springfield. Again, I don't even know if there's a prison. Twice a month I'm in Barnstable. And you know what, Chris? At least 17 days I'm in Boston. Oh, okay, really? I just wanted to I can ask someone else that question. I know you have to be everywhere. I know you'd be everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, if nothing else.
Sorry, I guess I must have misunderstood.
That's
your
what I'm just
question.
curious of. Where do most of these people go? I know they go here, there, and everywhere. But like, hey, you know what? Suffolk County, Middlesex County, that's 70% of them. We're there more than half the time.
Right. My guess would be, since I don't do the schedule for the board, my guess would be once everyone has gone to every single institution, that areas which may be a little bit easier, a little bit less cumbersome for them is perhaps where they spend the majority of their time, but that's all my guess.
Yeah, I got it. Again, I don't have any other questions. I think I might have mentioned I did get a call over the weekend from Eric Dunn, the clerk of the Brighton District Court. He's doing a phenomenal job, someone I have a great deal of respect for. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Did you enjoy the inauguration?
I did not.
You did it? Oh,
No.
I thought you told me you were at the inauguration.
I apologize for calling you that.
Oh, no, that's all right. I don't mind. I just, I thought you were there. But anyway, who were the two board members who are about to be certified as drug and alcohol counselors?
Paul Tressler.
Yeah.
And Colette Santa.
Okay, great. That's good news to hear. So your job right now as the executive director, is that like the chief of staff?
I suppose it's
I mean,
comparable.
would you,
Yeah.
you know, you tell me.
We don't have a chief of staff, so I suppose it would be in lieu of, it's kind of the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, I just, it's kind of interchangeable sometimes.
Yes.
So, who is in charge of the scheduling? Just give me-
Scheduling for the board members,
Yeah.
that would be the chief of transitional services.
Mhm.
Her name is Michelle.
Okay, and who's in charge of her?
I work with her as the executive director.
But are you her boss?
I'm above her in rank of the agency, but she tends
Who reviews her?
she tends to do the schedule with the chairman.
Okay, so she and the chairman do. So she reports directly to the chairman who does her review?
When it comes to the schedule, yeah.
When it comes to everything else?
Well, I haven't done her review yet because I've only been the executive
But who
director
would
since
be
July.
doing it?
I would probably do it. I
Okay,
would
so
probably do
you
it.
are her boss then, that's.
Yes, chain of command, she would go to me and then to
All right,
Chairman
no,
Tressler.
great. So, I understood before that, and I'm only bringing this up because of what Councilor Arnell said, the schedule, they actually do it by where you live, geographical area. Because it makes no financial sense for the state to send somebody who lives like where I would live on the North Shore to, say, Springfield, Holyoke.
Sometimes they have to.
Why?
If there's only 7 board members and the other board member that maybe lives closest to an institution, not available, or maybe going to another hearing, or, I mean, I can't go through
So
all the
they
different
only,
things,
so
but-
they schedule it, I guess I'm trying to understand this, so the scheduling is done, so you wouldn't be sending somebody repeatedly far away?
It shouldn't happen, it shouldn't,
Okay.
no, I mean, that's not ideal, that's not sensible or economical or,
Well, it's not economical.
No.
You know,
Agreed.
for sure, because you guys are using state automobiles, aren't you?
the board members are, yes.
And it's time, it's all of that which matters. Okay. You have told us you're not a substance abuse expert, which is fine. But you are the executive director and you've been the general counsel. Do you work with Mike Callahan? Is he still there?
He's
Where is he?
in-
Okay, and who replaced him? Oh,
So when he left the agency,
that was 3 years ago?
no, he left in May. I was,
Okay.
sorry, let me back up for a second.
All right.
When
'Cause you've been there 3 years.
I have,
Gotcha.
so when I got to the agency, he was executive director, he had been general counsel before me,
Mhm.
moved into executive director position, and I was general counsel.
Yeah.
And then when he left the agency in May of 2018, I was named executive director and general counsel in 2008, in July, so 2 months after he left, so I have both positions.
Okay. So now was that job posted? Did you apply for that job?
The executive director position?
Yeah.
No, I was asked if I would take on that role in addition to maintaining general counsel. I said I would.
When did you apply for this position?
I was contacted by the governor's office, I want to say in the summertime, to ask if I would be interested.
Was the job posted?
I don't believe so.
So the job was never posted, the governor's office contacted you and asked you to apply?
Correct. Asked if I was interested, and I said yes. And it might have been shortly after that I was asked for my resume.
So, right now, on your resume, you oversee all the, basically oversee everything. Transition services, life sentences, general counsel, victim services. So you oversee the decisions, when the decisions get out.
And assigning them
Okay.
written, yeah,
The life of decisions.
yes,
Because the other decisions are written and given right
in
away.
real time, yes.
Gotcha. So those sentences, and how long is each decision?
They vary, I'd say 3 to 5.
3 to 5 pages?
Yeah, they vary.
That's longer than what I've seen online. That's interesting. That's good.
Probably more 3, but sometimes they get up to 5, so I'm giving you bottom to top.
But never as low as 2 for life.
No, I don't think so.
And-
Not since I've been there.
And what do they include in those?
In the decisions,
Mhm.
we have, the first page is simply a summary of
Yeah.
the facts. And then the next section is a summary of the parole hearing that took place. It might include, if the individual has had more than one hearing, what the parole history has been, if they've been paroled and then perhaps revoked, just to include all of the timeline in there. That will be in that summary section. That section will be, not verbatim, but a summary of the hearing. And then the final section is the decision section and pertinent case law.
So is there anything in the decision that tells the inmate if they're not granted parole, why not?
It depends. It depends on the person. It depends on what the issues are as to why the individual was not granted parole. It's a case by case. It's not.
I'm curious, so why would that be a case by case then? That doesn't seem. That doesn't seem right at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, someone thinks everybody deserves the same type of feedback.
Well,
Why would some deserve it and some not?
It really just depends on what the individual has done, what the individual hasn't done. If there are recommendations that the board can make without making promises to the individual, then they will do that.
I wouldn't expect the board to ever make promises to anybody, but I would expect them to set benchmarks.
Right. However, I think the board is careful not to set expectations that perhaps in the next review period, whether it be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, if the board suggested, we think you could do this program, and then the individual does indeed do that program, and then doesn't get paroled, because perhaps their institutional record is terrible, or for some other reason, the board would not want to set expectations that.
But that would be brought up at the next hearing.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
would.
I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make any sense. You're basically telling people, you're not getting parole, and we're not telling you why.
Well,
That's what I'm asking.
I think that-
And if you're telling people why, you do owe them an explanation of what they can do better to achieve that. Now, whether they achieve it or not, listen, I can name one particular person who's been has been up for parole a lot, and he's never gotten it, and he's never gonna get it. He's been dying it because he'll start a program and then he'll drop out of it, or he'll say, whatever. He makes up every kind of excuse in the world, but that doesn't mean he is not entitled to that direction. I just find that odd.
Right. No. As far as a reason why someone was denied, I mean, that absolutely needs to be in the decision. That an administrative decision must have a reason. Our statute requires that we must indicate not only a summary of the hearing, but a reason for the denial.
But you
if there's
don't
a
give them
denial.
any benchmarks. There's no guidance to them.
Usually, the guidance is continue working towards additional programming and continue working towards rehabilitation, continue doing the programs that you've begun, things of that nature. It's usually more directed towards programming if there is any guidance.
It sounds very vague, that's all. I mean, I would expect it to be very specifically towards programming. But I get it, that that's not what you guys are doing. So the entire board sits on the life of decisions. You do about 100 to 110 a year. And who is writing them?
The attorneys. Right now, there is one, like I mentioned, that was
How
hired
many
to do that.
attorneys do you have?
We had one that started on Monday, so now we have 4 underneath.
You have 4 attorneys that are working with you, and are they all working on these?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Like I said, the one that started in July is working on the records of decision to just try and get those out and a little bit more up to date. The attorney that started on Monday was hired to replace another individual that we lost back in the fall.
Another attorney that you lost?
Yes, she relocated. So
So, how many staff do you oversee?
I